Let me tell you something about India, Bharat. It's the nation that everybody thinks they understand until they actually try to explain it. It's like trying to fold a fitted bed sheet. Everybody's confident, everybody's bold, but 5 minutes later they got that thing rolled up in a ball muttering to themselves. That's what it's like when somebody tries to underestimate or oversimplify India. Because India is not just a country, it's an idea, an emotion, a vibration, a stubborn heartbeat that's been pulsing for thousands of years saying, "We're still here and we're not going anywhere." When people ask, why can't anyone crush India, you should just smile. Because the answer is long, layered, and louder than any microphone on this planet. India is the kind of place where you could take the map, shake it, scramble it, turn it upside down, divide it, redraw it 100 times, and somehow the spirit stays the same. You can push it, pull it, poke it, prod it, but this thing refuses to bend. Every time history tried to bury India, India came back acting like, really, that's all you got? A nation with that kind of history doesn't break. It laughs at pressure, it drinks adversity like morning chai. People talk about the new India, this rising global power, this tech-driven economy, this massive population of dreamers and doers. But the truth is, the strength of India is older than any modern headline. It's ancient, it's deep, it's woven into the DNA of over 1 billion people who wake up every day believing in something bigger than themselves. 1 billion people who pray differently, eat differently, dress differently, speak differently, and yet call the same land home. That's not just a country, that's a miracle with a postal code. And the funniest part, India didn't get strong because everything went smoothly. India got strong because practically nothing went smoothly. You know how some people grow up in perfect homes, with perfect lawns, with perfect routines, and then the moment life throws one tiny problem at them, they fall apart. India is the opposite. India grew up with chaos as a roommate. India has been through invasions, colonization, partitions, political storms, natural disasters, economic challenges. You name it, India has fought it, faced it, survived it, and come out smiling. It's like history tried every single wrestling move and India said, "Is that all? Try harder." So let's talk about this power. Let's talk about why no one, and I mean no one, can crush Bharat. Because the first thing you gotta understand is this. India is old. Not old like your grandpa telling the same fishing story for the 15th time. I mean old like 5,000 years before your grandpa's grandpa existed. Most countries are like teenagers, loud, dramatic, figuring themselves out. India is the elder in the room. India has lived through civilizations that rose, ruled, and vanished like they were weekend pop-up shops. Empires strolled in with all the swagger in the world, talking about domination and supremacy, and India just watched them the way you watch a toddler having a tantrum. Patiently, knowingly, already aware that they're going to tire themselves out eventually. India survived because India adapts. India bends without breaking. India absorbs without disappearing. You can bring your food, your clothes, your gods, your languages, your business, your culture. India will welcome you, let you settle down, teach you yoga, and still remain India. This nation is like a giant cultural sponge, but with a twist. It absorbs everything and loses nothing. How do you crush a place like that? You can't. It's too fluid, too flexible, too philosophically chill to be broken. Then there's the people. Oh, the people. If you haven't experienced India, you might think 1 billion. Plus population sounds like chaos, and sometimes it is. But somehow that chaos creates progress. You know how some folks can't handle even 2 people talking at the same time. Go to India, you'll see 5 people arguing, 10 people negotiating, 20 people cooking, 50 people honking too, 100 people walking, a wedding procession rolling through, a cricket match happening on the side, a cow in the middle of the street completely unbothered, and somehow it all works. Out of that noise, ideas are born. Out of that energy, ambition is sparked. Out of that crowd, innovation rises. And let me tell you something about Indian determination. There's nothing quite like it. Indians do not quit. They do not stop. They do not back down. They do not fold under pressure. You know how many engineers they produce, how many doctors, how many entrepreneurs, how many students competing like their life depends on a single exam. If ambition were a natural resource, India would be OPEC for dreams. The world likes to talk about India's brainpower, and they should. But intelligence alone isn't what makes India uncrushable. It's that there's a toughness behind that intelligence. A resilience, a fire. Indians are raised with an understanding that life is not supposed to be easy, and when you grow up expecting challenges, you become unbeatable, you become unshakable. Indians carry struggle like a badge and success like a promise. Then there's the culture. A culture so diverse it's like someone spilled a bucket of colors across the map and said, "Yep, that's the country." You've got over 1,000 languages, thousands of dances, thousands of traditions. You can travel 100 kilometers and feel like you crossed a border, and yet the country holds itself together. Unity in diversity isn't just a slogan. It's survival, it's strength. It's the invisible force field that has kept India intact while younger nations crumble under far less pressure. People underestimate the power of cultural pride, but when you have 1 billion people who truly believe in their identity, who celebrate it, protect it, defend it, you cannot erase that. You cannot overwrite it. You cannot crush that. And India's pride isn't arrogant. It's deep, soulful, rooted. It's the confidence of knowing you've contributed something meaningful to the world long before the world even had a name. Next, let's talk about growth. Modern India isn't just riding on history. Modern India is sprinting. India wakes up early, hustles hard, builds fast, upgrades constantly. Tech hubs, startups, satellites, space missions, digital revolutions. India is working like there's a cosmic deadline it refuses to miss. You look up one day and India is breaking a record. Blink twice and India breaks another one. It's a country that insists on leveling up even when people aren't watching. And that's another reason nobody can crush India. India doesn't need validation. India doesn't wait for applause. India doesn't need anyone to crown it a power. India simply becomes one, quietly, consistently, unapologetically. Let me tell you something else. Indians know how to fight for their rights. They know how to protest peacefully, loudly, and with purpose. They know how to debate. They know how to argue. Trust me, Indians can debate for hours about absolutely anything. Food, politics, cricket, cinema, who makes the best chai, who has the best biryani, whether the dosa should be thick or thin. You think you can silence a people who can passionately debate about the shape of a bread snack for 3 hours? Impossible. And then there's the spirituality, not religion's spirituality, the philosophy of inner strength. The idea that peace comes from within, that every human has something divine inside them, that the universe is one giant interconnected family, that there's more to life than material success, that there's more to identity than physical existence. You know what a belief system like that creates? People who are strong from the inside out. You can damage buildings, borders, economies, but you can't damage the soul of a spiritual culture, and India's soul is ancient, unbreakable, eternal. Now think about geopolitics. Modern India knows how to stand tall on the world stage without acting like a bully. India knows diplomacy. India knows strategy. India knows how to shake hands, make deals, build alliances, but also say, "Don't try me." India is calm but not passive, friendly but not naive, peace, loving but not defenseless, and that balance, strength wrapped in humility, is exactly what makes India so difficult to crush. Because you never know what card India will play, but you know the deck is stacked with wisdom. The military. Let's talk about that. India has one of the largest, most capable, most battle-tested forces on earth. And these aren't soldiers who fight for oil or conquest or power. These are soldiers who fight for home, for heritage, for ancestors, for the soil beneath their feet. And a soldier fighting for something sacred is far more powerful than one fighting for something shiny. That is why India stands tall. That is why India never bows. Then there's the diaspora. Indian talent is spread across the world like confetti. Scientists, comedians, artists, engineers, doctors, innovators. Everywhere you go, Indians are contributing, building, leading, succeeding. And when your people become the backbone of progress in nearly every corner of the world, you're not just a country, you're a global force. You're a silent superpower, and no one can crush a nation whose sons and daughters hold the keys to so many industries worldwide. And let's not forget India's economic engine. This thing is roaring, not quietly humming. Roaring, growing faster than most major economies. Building roads, rails, airports, industries, factories, digital networks. A rising middle class, a booming youth population, a wave of entrepreneurship so strong it could sweep across continents. India isn't waiting for a seat at the global table. India is building its own table. And guess what? The world wants a seat at it. Now I know there are people out there who still wonder, but what makes India so tough? Let me break it down real simple. India has survived everything because Indians survive everything. They have seen hard times, they have seen suffering, they have seen loss, they have seen oppression, and they came out not bitter, but determined, not broken, but bold, not silent, but louder. India's strength is in its stories. Stories of farmers waking up before the sun, stories of mothers working 2 jobs, stories of students studying by candlelight, stories of entrepreneurs building companies out of rented rooms, stories of soldiers standing guard in freezing temperatures, stories of families who lose everything to floods or earthquakes or droughts and still rebuild with their bare hands. A country made from that kind of resilience cannot be crushed, because India's power is not built in its skyscrapers. It's built in its villages, it's built in its classrooms, it's built in its temples, mosques, churches, gurdwaras. It's built in the hearts of its people, and the heart of India is the strongest muscle on earth. This is a nation that gave the world mathematics, medicine, philosophy, astronomy, architecture, literature, spirituality. A nation that has lived through empires, rising and falling like waves on a shore. A nation that has mastered the art of surviving without losing itself. India isn't a country you defeat. India is a country you respect. When the world looks at India today, it sees potential, it sees power. It sees possibility, but India saw that in itself long before anyone else did. India believed in itself before anyone else did, and that self-belief is the unshakable foundation beneath every achievement. India has gone from a nation dismissed as a developing underdog to a nation shaping the future. And the world finally realizes something India has known all along. The sleeping giant wasn't sleeping. It was meditating. India is the kind of country that teaches you patience, because everything takes time in India. Traffic takes time, bureaucracy takes time, weddings take time, cricket matches take time. Even saying goodbye takes time. You say goodbye and then spend another 30 minutes talking. But here's the thing, that patience is a strength, that patience is a power, That patience builds nations that are not impulsive, not fragile, not easily swayed. And why can't anyone crush Bharat? Because the people don't break. The culture doesn't fade. The spirit doesn't die. The hope doesn't weaken. The pride doesn't shrink. And the unity, messy as it may look, doesn't crumble. India's power isn't loud, but it's felt everywhere. India's strength isn't boastful, but it's undeniable. India's rise isn't dependent on anyone, it's self-made. India is a nation that has learned to endure, a nation that has learned to rise, a nation that has learned to fight with grace, a nation that has learned to lead with humility. So when someone asks, why can't anyone crush India? Tell them this, because India is not just a nation, it's a civilization. Because India is not just a land, it's a legacy. Because India is not just a population, it's a force. Because India is not just history, it's destiny. Because India does not bend, it stands. Because India does not fear, it believes. Because India does not break, it becomes stronger. India is eternal. India is alive. India is rising. You cannot crush something that was built to rise. And Bharat rises every single day. Bharat's identity evolves with modernity while preserving tradition, making it unbreakable and future-ready. This duality, this ability to hold two truths in the same hand without dropping either one, is one of the most striking features of India's social and cultural framework. Most nations struggle with the tug-of-war between old and new. They lean too hard into modernization and lose the soul that made them distinct, or they cling too tightly to tradition and miss the opportunities of the future. India, though, walks a path that seems impossible at first glance. It manages to be ancient and futuristic at the same time, spiritual yet scientific, traditional yet transformative. The reason this balance exists is not accidental. It's deeply woven into the Indian way of thinking, a way that has been shaped over millennia by philosophy, adaptability, and the constant interaction of countless cultures and communities. In India, modernity is not a replacement, it's an addition. Tradition is not a barrier, it's a root system. One of the central reasons Bharat can evolve without losing itself is that its traditions were never static to begin with. Indian culture has always been a living culture, not a rigid one. Traditions adapted naturally as generations passed, yet retained their core essence. Festivals changed with time, rituals changed with time, language changed, art changed, but none of it ever disappeared. Instead, it expanded, absorbed, and grew. When technology arrived, India didn't discard tradition, it digitized it. You see Temple Live, streams, online astrology consultations, digital Sanskrit courses, and grandmothers sending recipes through WhatsApp voice notes. The rituals that once required physical presence now travel through fiber optic cables. Tradition didn't lose relevance, it found a new medium. That is the strength of an evolving identity. Its relevance is portable. Take the example of Indian families. The traditional Indian family structure is often portrayed as conservative or outdated, but in reality, it has evolved in ways that preserve cultural essence while embracing new realities. Joint families may not always live under the same roof anymore, but the emotional joint family continues through constant communication, shared responsibilities, and collective decision-making. The values of respect for elders, community support, and interdependence are still present, even if the format looks different. Young people today pursue global careers, live in different cities or countries, but still maintain a cultural bond that grounds them. They celebrate festivals together through video calls, they seek blessings before taking major decisions, they return home for important rituals. Even as lifestyles change, the cultural glue remains intact. Modern independence and traditional family connection coexist, not as opposing forces, but as complementary layers. India's ability to evolve while retaining tradition is also evident in its languages. Linguistically, India is one of the richest regions in the world. Over 1,000 tongues flourish across the subcontinent, each rooted in history, yet many have adapted to modern life through new vocabulary, hybrid expressions, and bilingual usage. Young people mix English with Hindi, Tamil with Gujarati, Marathi with Urdu. Rather than being a loss of purity, it's a sign of evolution. Languages in India don't vanish under pressure, they morph. You'll find people coding in Python but cursing in their mother tongue. You'll find youngsters writing Instagram captions in English but chanting mantras in Sanskrit. This coexistence of linguistic layers ensures that tradition remains alive even as global communication expands. Cuisine shows another example of this identity fusion. Indian food traditions are some of the oldest and most complex in the world. Yet step into any modern Indian city and you'll see chefs reinventing classic dishes with contemporary twists. Dosa tacos, butter chicken pasta, paneer sushi, mithai cheesecakes. None of these inventions erase the originals. Instead, they highlight how tradition can inspire modern creativity. A family in Mumbai may cook quinoa upma for breakfast, but they'll still follow the same spice combinations their ancestors used. A restaurant in Delhi may serve fusion street food, but the foundation remains rooted in traditional flavor profiles. Kitchen traditions in India never fade. They evolve, adapt to health trends, global influences, and new ingredients, yet remain unmistakably Indian. Another area where India's evolving identity becomes evident is in clothing. Indian fashion is a perfect example of how tradition can survive modernization without being pushed into nostalgia. Walk through any city and you'll see women wearing jeans with kurtas, men pairing sneakers with kurta pajamas, brides choosing lehengas with modern cuts, and young professionals wearing saris with belts, jackets, or minimalistic designs. The sari itself, one of the oldest garments in human history, is worn in dozens of draping styles, each reflecting regional identity, but now adapted for fast lifestyles through pre-stitched versions and lightweight fabrics. Traditional craftsmanship like Banarasi weaving, Kanchipuram silk, and chikankari embroidery blends with contemporary silhouettes. The result is a fashion identity that is deeply rooted yet globally appealing. India didn't abandon its garments, it reinvented them again and again. India's spiritual and philosophical traditions are another powerful example of this coexistence. In a world that often separates scientific progress from spiritual reflection, India blends them with ease. Ancient philosophies like yoga, Ayurveda, Vedanta, and meditation have stepped into the modern world with renewed relevance. Yoga studios now stand next to corporate offices. Meditation apps based on Indian philosophies are used globally. Ayurveda, inspired skincare and wellness have become billion-dollar industries. Scientific research increasingly studies these ancient practices, bringing modern legitimacy to age-old wisdom. Instead of fading into the background as relics, Indian spiritual traditions have become tools for future development, tools for mental health, wellness, and global well-being. They show how India's roots aren't just historical, they're functional and adaptable. Even India's festivals demonstrate this timeless adaptability. Diwali lights now include LED diyas. Holy colors are organic and eco-friendly. Ganesh Chaturthi idols dissolve without polluting water bodies. Weddings incorporate DJ, drones, LED screens, and event managers, while still retaining traditional rituals like Mehendi, Firas, and Mangal Sutra. Raksha Bandhan threads have QR codes for digital money transfers, and Navratri dances are live, streamed across continents. The symbolism, emotions, and rituals remain unchanged, but the execution evolves with technology and urban life. Festivals once tied to geography have become global events for the Indian diaspora. This demonstrates that tradition isn't weakened by modernization, it becomes more accessible. The political and civic identity of Bharat also reflects this dual evolution. India is a democracy rooted in ancient traditions of public discourse, community leadership, and societal debate. Those roots still shape modern governance. Village councils continue to influence local decision-making. Political activism is woven into the cultural fabric. Citizens use social media not just for entertainment but to raise voices, demand accountability, and mobilize social change. Modern tools amplify traditional values of dialogue and participation. While democratic systems evolve with technology and global influences, the philosophical foundation, respect for collective decision-making, remains firmly Indian. India's educational landscape also bridges tradition and modernity. Ancient India was home to universities like Nalanda and Takshashila, centers of knowledge that welcomed students from across the world. Today, institutions like IIT, AIIMS, and IIMS carry forward that legacy, producing global leaders in science, technology, medicine, and business. At the same time, there's a growing revival of interest in classical subjects, Sanskrit studies, Indian philosophy, indigenous sciences, regional literature. Education in India is neither entirely Western nor purely traditional. It is a blend that prepares students for global competition while grounding them in cultural understanding. New curricula include coding and artificial intelligence alongside yoga and moral education. The ability to integrate ancient wisdom with futuristic learning creates a generation that is both culturally informed and globally ready. India's economic identity also reflects this culturally rooted modernization. The entrepreneurial spirit seen today didn't come out of nowhere. It has existed for centuries in India's marketplaces, trade routes, and artisan communities. Today's startups are the digital descendants of traditional shopkeepers and craftsmen. Modern businesses incorporate traditional values like trust, long-term relationships, and family-based enterprise structures. Handloom workers sell on e-commerce platforms. Farmers use drones and data analytics. Street vendors accept digital payments. Small businesses integrate global marketing strategies without abandoning local ethics. Economic modernization in India does not wipe out rural or traditional economies. Instead, it connects them to global markets and technologies. The arts offer another example of evolving identity. Classical music, dance, literature, and theater remain alive while new genres flourish on digital platforms. Kathak dancers perform to contemporary music collaborations. Classical musicians incorporate fusion elements. Folk arts gain global audiences through social media. Indian cinema blends modern themes with traditional storytelling structures. Lyrics combine ancient poetry with modern beats. Even stand-up comedians often draw from cultural quirks and generational transitions. Through every medium, the old and new dance together, keeping Indian artistic identity vibrant and constantly reinvented. India's evolving identity also shows itself in how social values are shifting. Younger generations challenge outdated norms while still respecting the cultural heritage they come from. Women pursue higher education, global careers, entrepreneurship, and leadership roles, while still participating in traditional customs in ways that feel authentic to them. Relationships and marriages evolve, creating space for personal choice, compatibility, and equality. Yet many still uphold rituals that symbolize cultural continuity. The shift towards individual freedom doesn't erase community values. Instead, it creates a blended model where traditional respect coexists with modern independence. Technology, perhaps more than anything else, reveals India's ability to merge modernity with heritage. India embraced digital transformation at a scale unmatched by most nations. Digital payments, online identification systems, mobile technology, affordable internet. But this transformation did not uproot cultural patterns. People used technology to preserve traditions instead of replacing them. Storytelling moves from courtyards to YouTube channels. Folk artists gain recognition through viral videos. Ancient remedies spread across social media as home hacks. Religious practices adapt to mobile apps for scripture reading, prayer timings, and temple schedules. Technology becomes a bridge, not a barrier. Even in urban development, this blend is visible. Modern skyscrapers rise beside centuries-old temples. Tech campuses exist near historic ruins. Cafes serve cold brew alongside masala chai. Metro stations use designs inspired by regional art forms. Cities evolve while safeguarding heritage sites. This physical coexistence mirrors the emotional and cultural coexistence in the hearts of the people. The diaspora offers a powerful example of how Bharat's identity remains intact even outside India's borders. Indian families abroad maintain customs, cook traditional food, celebrate festivals, teach their children regional languages, and stay connected to their heritage. At the same time, they embrace global lifestyles, careers, and cultures. Their children grow up with multicultural identities that blend Indian values with international exposure. This dual identity is not confusing, it is enriching. It demonstrates the flexibility and strength of Indian culture, capable of surviving distance, time, and generational change while adapting to new environments. The reason Bharat's identity evolves so smoothly is because tradition in India is not defined by strict boundaries. It's defined by principles: respect, family, community, spirituality, learning, resilience, adaptability. These principles don't expire. They simply find new ways to express themselves. Whether it's a young professional performing a morning prayer before heading to a tech startup, or a student studying robotics while wearing traditional clothing, or a business owner integrating ancient aesthetics into modern branding, the Indian identity carries its heritage forward effortlessly. This blending of old and new also strengthens India against external pressures. Cultures that reject modernity tend to stagnate. Cultures that abandon tradition tend to lose identity. India does neither. It moves forward without forgetting where it came from. It innovates without disconnecting from its roots. It competes globally without surrendering its distinctive voice. This creates an identity that cannot be broken by social change, global trends, political shifts, or technological revolutions. The foundation is too deep, too wide, too lived in by too many people for too many centuries. India's future readiness is also tied to this identity. A culture that has survived thousands of years is naturally equipped to face future challenges. Climate challenges, technological shifts, global power transformations, migration trends, education transitions, all of these can be navigated more effectively by a society that embraces change while remaining grounded. The combination of youthful energy and ancient wisdom gives India a powerful advantage. The population is young, dynamic, innovative, and ambitious. The civilization is old, experienced, philosophical, and resilient. This is a rare combination in the modern world. When young Indians chase global careers, innovate in technology, build startups, or join scientific missions, They aren't abandoning tradition. They're carrying forward the age-old Indian principle of seeking knowledge, pushing boundaries, and contributing to the world. When Indian families adopt new lifestyles or move to new countries, they don't lose their roots. They extend them. When Indian cities modernize, they don't erase history. They build around it. When Indian culture evolves, it doesn't collapse, it expands. This evolving identity is not accidental. It's a collective choice made by millions of individuals who understand that tradition and modernity are not enemies. They are partners. Tradition provides guidance. Modernity provides tools. Tradition anchors. Modernity accelerates. Tradition preserves meaning. Modernity amplifies possibility. And when a society can hold both, it becomes unbreakable. This living, breathing, expanding identity is why Bharat stands strong today and grows stronger each year. It is why India can embrace global change without feeling threatened by it. It is why no wave of modernization can wash away its cultural core. It is why India looks toward the future not with fear, but with confidence, innovation, and vision. It is why Bharat is not just surviving in a changing world. It is shaping the world that is coming next.